Hello again, and welcome to Can You Hear Me? I'm Eileen Rochford. I'm the CEO of the marketing and strategy firm, The Harbinger Group.
And I'm Rob Johnson, president of Rob Johnson Communications. Here at Can You Hear Me, we enjoy exploring how companies manage their brands for maximum effectiveness in the marketplace. But there are some of those companies that also concern themselves with elevating other brands alongside them, companies that may be partners or vendors.
And today we're going to explore this concept as we welcome a very special guest, Eileen Ziesemer, a communications expert who most recently was Vice President of Public Relations at Ulta Beauty. Eileen, it's an honor and a pleasure to welcome you to our show today. Also, welcome to another Eileen. I don't think we've ever had a guest who shares my name. It's very exciting for me. And you're a fellow.
Power.
I know,
there's
right?
power in that. I like it.
Two Eileen's taking over. It's like it's a takeover. Yeah. And you're also a fellow Marquette alum.
There we go.
I'm sorry. So that's like, there it is. Okay.
You know what's funny? We had our last 2 programs ago, we had Rob Hart on from WBBM. He was a Marquette alum. So we had 2 Robs, and then we had 2 Marquette alums. Now we have 2 Eileens and 2 Marquette alums again.
There's a pattern here.
There's a pattern. I think you're absolutely right. Yep.
I needed to rebalance the scales, basically.
And so here she goes.
Yeah, that's happening.
Because I think a long time ago, I know for certain that you had Dave Kimball, the CEO at Ulta Beauty, on. And did you not go to college with him, Rob?
We not only did we go to college together, we were fraternity brothers, and we were in the same pledge class. We were pledge brothers. So we were.
Yeah, we needed an Eileen from MU. I think that this is fair now.
So when we had Dave from DePaul, and we had 2 DePaul grads, DePaul with a W, everybody, not DePaul. We felt, yes, it was powerful. There was 2 of us there. No, Dave is salt of the earth. I know you worked with him for years, and his wisdom, and this was, Eileen, 2+ years ago, both Eileens, and the brand that he's built there, what he's done there with all the whole team has really been remarkable. So that was a wonderful podcast as well.
Yes. I mean, so I think what the takeaways already for all of your listeners are Marquette and DePaul are the greatest schools to go to. And what else can we enlighten them with? No, all silliness aside, thank you both very much for having me. I'm a huge fan of your show, but also of you both as individuals. So I'm very thrilled and honored to be here.
Well, thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Ditto. My friend, ditto, our friend, really. It's not like I own you, right? Yeah. So how about this? I think it would be awesome, Eileen, if you could set the stage for our listeners by walking us through your career arc, because it has been very interesting. I also think it's a really good backdrop for our topic today, because you know how it is. All of our cumulative experiences lead us to where we are right now, right? And I'd love to hear especially about your, I believe it was 3 years leading PR at Ulta Beauty. Correct me anytime that I'm wrong.
No, you've got the high summary pretty locked and loaded, but I'd be happy to share a little bit more about myself. I kind of think about my career in chapters, and I'd say I'm probably midway through the book. We're at the pinnacle. But chapter 1, it's linear to me because I've lived it, to your point about lived experiences, but there are certainly some zigs and zags along the way. And I think that a thread of continuity is a lot of incredible leaders like Dave, like others who I've had the opportunity to work with and learn from, who saw the me in me before I did. And I think that is a really great baseline for how I lead and what I like to bring to the table, besides, PR skills and all of that adventure. But so chapter 1 is really the foundational chapter. I was at an agency called Ogilvy PR here in Chicago, and this is where I learned really the fundamentals of insights, of collaborative work, the discipline of writing, and it just reinforced my love of language and words and the power that they carry. And I think like anybody who starts their first job and they stay in that career for a long time, you create the most incredible lifelong friendships in that chapter. And so that's a really important piece of my puzzle because that's kind of my personal board of directors now. So chapter 2 then takes me to another agency. The zigzag here is that I was about to move to New York with Ogilvy PR and was told to sit tight because there was a job opportunity in Chicago that required my attention. And that if that's enough of a carrot tease for anybody to stay, then I don't know what else could be. So my mom is forever grateful for that carrot because it kept me here. And I moved over to the Edelman family and I worked at Zeno Group. And I'd call that chapter when I found my leadership style and my voice. I really anchored into my love of mentorship, not only being mentored, but that now serving as a mentor myself in this role, and really continued to grow, continued to push. And then I was there for about 3.5 years and I moved to MSL, which is a third agency. Kind of crazy, but it's how my zigs and zags go. This one was a purposeful choice because it was the only PR company within a very large global holding firm called Publicis. So I wanted to go there because I thought that this opportunity would allow me as the PR person, which historically in a marketing mix, PR has been kind of the redheaded stepchild of all disciplines. I can say that as a redhead without bias. And I think that there was this opportunity to better integrate PR and learn in an integrated capacity. And that was where I really hadn't had much opportunity, historically. I think it was just kind of burgeoning as a thing, like, the 360 campaigns, but this would put me in the seat. I also got married and became a mom during my MSL chapter. So these were really big learning years and incredible growth, incredible opportunities. And that's when Ulta called. And so that's a real inflection point in my journey because I had spent about 18 years on the agency side, which gave me access and, insight to a ton of different categories. And then the recruiter calls for Ulta Beauty. And I'm not joking when I say the first thing I told them was I don't wear makeup. And they said, we've got people that do that. You do PR very well. Oh, okay. Well, that's a different story. Let's talk, right? As I get to know the company, I just loved what they stood for. I loved meeting everybody along the way, Dave included, because it just kept showing that there was something very special in the culture. And there was something that they needed, right? Like storytelling on a level that is maybe a little bit higher than where they were, breaking down some silos and a lot of really goodness to happen. So at the end of my last interview, I looked Shelly, the woman who hired me, in the eye and said, right, wrong, or otherwise, I want this job. And I just feel like I have to tell you, I really want this job. And I think that worked. So I got the job, I got in, and it was amazing. And it really was the most transformational chapter that I started 2 days after they closed all stores for COVID. So no one saw that coming.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was a wild twist. So now I'm getting to know everyone in this screen that we're all used to today, but I'm assuming that they have legs. I'm assuming that we are making these decisions through something, but it all came back to me through the interview process. I saw all of the values on the walls. They were not just words on walls. These were the words through which the leadership team was making decisions about this critical time in culture, in the business. And here I am, this new person. They've never had a VP of PR before, just trying to be a sponge. And I think that that's a consistent thread is PR people and storytellers need to be really good listeners. And I had to really tap into that there. And so then started the best 3.5 years of my career because the highest of highs, hardest of challenges, but surrounded by teams that really wanted to win together. And so it was kind of this crazy conglomeration of all of my favorite parts of it. And so I wouldn't change anything. I drank from a fire hose to get onboarded because of the nature of the world. But that was the pace at which that we kept going. We did Ulta Beauty at Target. We did Conscious Beauty, did a CEO transition. We also navigated COVID and BLM and announced DEI commitments, which is probably my favorite part of the whole chapter. Ulta Beauty has done so much humbly behind the scenes in this space. And we were afforded the opportunity to kind of string together all of those pieces and go out proactively to the world to say, here's what we do for DEI. Here's why we believe it's important as leaders to continue continue to influence change. And here are some really tangible ways that we're doing it. And one of those, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth, is Muse, so now I think I'm in chapter 4.5 because after 3.5 years, I left Ulta, but I'm using all of that creative energy and all of that like excitement from the work that pushed me to be better, stronger, smarter. And I've been harnessing it with smaller level entrepreneurs, female founders, female brand founders, in and outside of beauty, and just thinking about like, what can they do, or how can I help as almost like a communications concierge in the way that we help these guys on a larger scale, which has been really, really informative for me and will get me to chapter 5, which is really going to be a place of purpose for me.
That's awesome. There's a couple of Ulta Beauty observations I want to make. I believe that right when you started, and it's probably because you did start there, coming through COVID and out of COVID, didn't you all have some of your best years ever? And I don't know that was anticipated. And I believe that it was everybody was really pleasantly surprised because you don't know what's going to happen with COVID. The second observation I wanted to make is Dave Kimball came up through the marketing ranks, which is not entirely common for people that take over the CEO role. Do you think that his emphasis on the marketing side benefited you when you came in, because you were talking about marketing and PR earlier, and did that maybe elevate you in ways that maybe it wouldn't have if somebody hadn't come from that, or is that overstated?
Yeah, and it's such a good perspective too. So one, I will take zero credit of the business's performance in COVID, but I love that you thought maybe I could influence that. I think the company came into 2020 in a really good position of strength. Obviously, COVID threw everyone a real big curveball, and a lot of retailers didn't weather that storm beautifully. Right. I think that there's a lot of different insight, and that's, you come back to insights in all the ways, right? People embraced wellness because they were home and they could start routines. Their routines grew. That bodes well for the beauty category. I think Ulta Beauty was well positioned with their scale of brands, from mass to luxury and all the different offerings in between. That makes us a good spot for shoppers to get in and out and get everything they might need in their handbag or their makeup drawer. And I think that the culture really helps. When people believe that a company is good from the inside out, I think that there's more traction. So those things really did work in favor for 2020. To your point about Dave, his predecessor, Mary, also comes up through marketing. And I think that I saw both of them in the leadership role, and I adore both of them, and I'm grateful for so much. We could have a whole podcast dedicated to that. But I think that because they have an affinity for and an understanding of the power that marketing has and holds, and the emotional connection that marketing can make with a consumer, not just ROIs and impressions and things of that nature. It's the affinity and the brand love that marketing is needed to spark. And I think that they both really do value that in ways that perhaps other clients in the past that I've had, don't have the same background. And so I do think it makes a huge difference. And that's not to say that, CFOs shouldn't be CEOs. They just don't have that same understanding.
Of course.
So having come from many years consecutively and basically the entire foundation of your career solely inside of agencies, to then decide to go into a corporate position and immediately have the opportunity taken away from you to really in person get to know these people with whom you would be making, some pretty significant shifts in how the business was run from the marketing and communication side of things. I have to say, when I learned that about your journey, and you've told me that before, I was astonished that you did as much as you did and stayed as long as you did in the culture. But obviously it's the leadership, it's the other people who surrounded you, and the values of the organization and the work that they were willing to put in, to accomplish things together that helped you stay there. It still is remarkable. I mean, anyone who starts an agency and goes corporate knows that transition is probably the most difficult you will ever make in your career.
It is not for the faint of heart. But it's also incredible and transformative. I didn't have access to the IR clients all the time when I was on the agency side. At Ulta, I'm working in lockstep with the VP of Investor Relations, and I grow as an individual, as a business leader, as a communications professional, and I help her in return. And I think that the crux of it for me is the people. It comes down to people and relationships. And I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. If anybody ever asks me about PR and what's so important about it, it's the R. Relationships are the most critical foundation to being a successful business person, period, end of story. But to be a successful storyteller, you have to have trust, and people will not divulge their story to you if you don't have trust. And that is, nurtured over time, in relationships really do become the foundation of everything. And so despite not knowing if people did have legs on the other side of the screen, I was like, I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to tell you what I need, and I'm going to tell you what I'd love to do. And I need to hear from you what you need. And that just evoked a really great runway of continued relationship building, and I'm very happy to say that all of those relationships are sustained. Despite the fact that I am no longer there, I will cheer for that company forevermore. I will want Dave Kimball to be winning on all things, because I do think that what they believe in and what they stand for is bigger than any individual. It's such a good foundation for other companies to look at.
We could end it right there, but we got a long way to go. That was, first of all, that was I think I found my next quote for my presentation training about the R and relations. And I was just like, wow, don't stop. Keep going. Amazing. I don't want to oversimplify it, but you brought it up about, going to all these agencies, and each one of them, it seems like, provided you with something different to help you kind of build your career, kind of figure out who you were professionally. And then Eileen R there just referenced the agency world that you were in for so long. I don't want to oversimplify this because there's a lot in play here, but what would you say has enabled your career success? Some of the core tenets that you sort of lean on when it comes to, here's the leader I'm going to be, here's the executive I'm going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We could have hours of discussion, maybe with wine on this one. But
we accept.
I do think one day, yes, rain check. I think that my foundation in agency lets me naturally wear many hats at one time. So I can then be much more agile. I think that some people, there's a paralysis in overthinking. And that's not to say that I shoot from the hip, but I do feel like my instincts are a little bit more trained because I was wearing so many hats at different times. You got to switch from one client to the other. You're going into a budget meeting, all these things. And then you have to talk to somebody about their development. And, you're just moving at this clip that is really fast. I think that set me up for the success of starting on day 2 of COVID. I think that the ability to listen well informs a really strong output, but also engenders trust. I think that a lot of people can say that insights are important, but truly valuing insights is a critical skill, because it unleashes meaningful ways into different audiences. And, a lot of times there could be a client or even when you're in-house, like a partner who wants to talk to everybody, and you can't boil the ocean. You cannot have an audience that is the world unless you're Taylor Swift. And I'm not. So I have to hone in more. And then when I hone in, I can really unpack different levels, psychographics, demographics, what makes them tick. And I think that valuing that really, really matters, because that leads to words that matter. And then it resonates more strongly. And I think, again, most importantly, relationships. I still have super strong, very, very deep and meaningful relationships with people from every one of the chapters in my career. And that's not because I feel like you can't, burn bridges. I believe that that's a very true adage, but it's because I like these people and I care about them. And I believe that they care about me, and like the world is bigger than us. So I think that those things, that's how I lead. I like to be really transparent, probably to a fault.
I doubt that. I think most of the people who've worked with you would say that you have a few faults, but who knows? Maybe there's some secrets they can tell us in the comments when we post this show. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
It'd be so dangerous for my LinkedIn
They'd never do that to you.
You know, the universe.
Invite them for wine, and then it really,
Yeah. Then it's a whole different story. Then it's just like a.
We'll secretly record it. Yes. Okay. So you brought it up before, but it's one of the things that I am so excited to hear you talk about because it relates so closely to our topic today of elevating new voices, those that really need to be heard, and how what the three of us do for a living and many other people can help that happen. And it is the Muse, I believe it's Muse 100. Is that the initiative?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, oh God, I love this. I love this whole topic.
Tell us what it is first so everybody has the context, and then roll into the good juicy stuff.
I just get so excited talking about this because this is the work that matters. We can all, anybody could say, oh, she did PR at Ulta. And so like she sold lipstick and perfume. That was part of it, but it wasn't all of it. And that matters too. It matters to the people, the many, many associates who work at Ulta Beauty. You have to sell the products for everyone to get the paycheck, and that's important. But because we had such a platform and such influence in an industry that really matters, doing work that matters, I think, makes everybody feel really good to work there and really proud. And this is the piece that I walk away so proud about. So to kind of set the stage, I talked about like kind of the convergence of all the cultural forces in 2020, 2021, COVID, Black Lives Matter, questions about economic stability. It was an election year. Like there was a lot happening that created a lot of tension. And for the first time in a very, very long time, DEI was front and center, and that was long overdue. And this was all happening in parallel with Ulta Beauty, like really becoming much more purposeful in its efforts and moving from kind of a transactional brand into emotional and purposeful brand. And so the purpose, as we stated it, was to use the power of beauty to bring to life possibilities. And so to do that, you have to listen, right, back to insights. And we learned that a third of Black beauty enthusiasts, so we call beauty lovers beauty enthusiasts, and 1/3 of Black beauty enthusiasts felt left out by the industry, whether that was what they see in advertising, what they hear, what they can shop on shelf. There's a lot of ways to feel like you are seen or unseen, and 1/3 of them felt left out. And so we wanted to start changing that, but do it in relevant ways, meaningful ways, and keep listening until we get it right. So when we announced the DEI commitments in February 21, so that would be 1 calendar year after I started, and, going around the whole company and pulling with partners, of course, not by myself, but pulling what each part of the company was doing in DEI to assemble a large story. And then the marketing team said, okay, there's a lot going on here. We're going to be able to talk about these commitments in big, broad strokes. Let's anchor it in a campaign. So they brought to life this beautiful campaign called Muse, which stands for Magnify, Uplift, Support, and Empower. And they made this beautiful, beautiful campaign to air in concert with the commitment. And then the way that we could bring it to life tangibly was the Muse 100. And we established 10 categories, whether it was, executive excellence, style setters, a fearless founder, like all of these really fun categories. So you had makeup artists, but then you had up and coming people, like this one girl, Marley. She saw that there weren't a lot of Black female protagonists in books. So she created this list of books by authors that weren't necessarily getting, to the front of the Amazon must reads or, the New York Times list. And it was just this beautiful list of female protagonists who happened to be women of color. And she got credit for that as an emerging person who saw a need, And so each of these 100 voices were Black voices in and around beauty who represent what we believe to be the next chapter of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they each received a $10,000 gift from Ulta to continue with their ventures. They were celebrated on our website as well as our social channels. They came together for a kickoff moment. And now Muse exists in an ongoing annual way. So that was kind of the one tangible moment at launch. And we just got to dig into so many different kinds of people doing so many great things. And it just, like the global head of fashion and beauty at Snapchat was one, plus this girl who's curating book lists, and just to see that spectrum and see how many voices there are that are doing something, but they get lost in this sea of chaotic communications that we operate in like daily, it showed us that like, this is just step one. And what else can we do? And we have to be industry leaders. So let's not stop. And that then gave way to the Muse Accelerator, which kind of takes the Muse 100 step further. And that is an annual identification of 8 brand founders. So now we're getting a little closer to beauty, dialing in. These are different brands that have demonstrated that they're good at D2C. They can sell direct to consumer. Are they yet retail ready? Maybe, maybe not. They apply for the Muse program, and 8 of them get selected to go through a 10-week program where they get mentorship. They get significantly more funding. They get access to mentors who are brands that already are sold at Ulta Beauty, but also come from similar backgrounds. And then they get access to resources like PR, like merchants, supply chain leadership, because you don't know what you don't know. And I think that is really the greatest misstep of founders who are trying to scream from the rooftop. What they're doing is trying to do everything and not recognizing that like you can create a community of people to help you do that. And it doesn't have to mean that like you're giving all your money away to do it. Because there are opportunities like Muse to go apply for, or there are people like me in this 4.5 chapter stage where like you do consultancy and you just want to help, because we know that there's a lot of noise, and to break through, you have to lean on other people who have skills that maybe you don't, because I certainly couldn't create a beauty brand, but I can help you talk about it.
What's amazing is you don't have to scream from the mountaintop. They don't have to, I should say, because you have provided them an outlet. You've provided them the voice. You've provided them the muscle that so many of these up and coming businesses need, minority businesses need. So, I mean, I know that you take great pride in that, as you should, but I'm curious to know, as you were going on this journey with all of these up and coming minority entrepreneurs, what would you say some of the common threads are that you witnessed amongst the founders that you were coming across regularly?
There's so much. I love this whole, I wish that they could be here so that they could tell you, what they gleaned too. That could be a fun follow-up, like the people who do those accelerators, just to see like what their greatest takeaways are, because it is just as much as we Marquette fans all love the team. We have different experiences when we go to the game. Same is true of anybody who gets into an accelerator program, or, like their lived experience is going to be different. So for me, I think across the board, no matter how it manifests, the energy that entrepreneurs bring to their business is second to none. They are more enthusiastic about their lipstick, about their head care, about their candles than anybody has ever been about candles in the history of time. And that's palpable. I think that if you don't have that fire, then good luck continuing down your journey, because I think, that passion and the conviction and the hunger is just, it's life-giving. And so to me, I'm like, yeah, I want to get on your boat. Let's go. Where are we going? And that's really been super fun. So that is contagious and exciting in all the ways. On the flip side, and I think I was just kind of alluding a little bit to this, like if an entrepreneur takes on too much, given their own resources, knowledge, and bandwidth, things can get jumbled quickly. And I think that it's all really, really well intended. And it's really important to come back to knowing what you don't know. And that sounds so trite and cliche, but, similar to me with IR, I am a consumer PR person through and through. That is what my entire agency, upbringing did for me, got me to Ulta. And then they're like, and now can you please review this press release for earnings? And I was like, yes, I can, but I'm here for grammar and not for details, because I know what I don't know. Right. And so I think, what I share that because some of the common threads are, like you might be great at creating scents, colors, chemistry in your product, and you want to tell people every bit of that. Do it through the lens of like your vision and your mission and your differentiated story, not every bit of your story. What is your story that makes it special? And then, while you want the whole world to embrace it, and maybe they will one day, not everything is meant for everyone. So know who your audience is and learn everything about them. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs do that in smart ways. And then they'll be like, and everyone else. And that's what they want their halo to be. And it's like, maybe. And then I think the third one is do not compromise 1 minute of your values to serve one, this one part of the business will benefit if I do this. If you do not bring conviction of courage with your values to every piece of your business, I think in this world where authenticity is like the barometer, then you're setting yourself up to fail. So I think those are the 3 watch outs I would give, but never wane on the enthusiasm and just continue to like work your network and find the people that are willing to help you.
Oh, I love that. Such great advice. Never lose your light, right? That's a biggie. That's so funny. I was just meeting with someone recently and they had asked me to tell the whole story of my career. And it was fascinating because
I love that story, by the way.
It is funny. But at the end of it, he said, I would find it hard to believe that you are any less enthusiastic right now, because I just heard it, about your business as you were when you started it. And that was just the greatest compliment. So I 100% applaud what you're saying and underscore it. No doubt about that. Absolutely. All right.
And it sounds simple, right? But it's very easy in the trenches. You're like, well, I've always done it this way, but we can save X amount if we did that. Well, now you're compromising your values and the standards to which you've held yourself all along, and I think it's very easy to do that. But I really believe that authenticity is the only way forward in this very divisive world we're leading. We need to be there for our true selves if we want anyone else to buy it.
Yep. Clarity of your convictions. No doubt about it. 100%. I think we had similar backgrounds, the way you and I were raised, and you too, Rob.
I think maybe, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't go through the agency thing like you all did, though. So that was a far different.
Or the Irish Catholic thing, which is a whole other conversation.
We have so many
or the Marquette. Yeah.
Oh, that too. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah. Oh, that's cute. Okay. I would love. So you're here. This is where you are, Eileen, and thank you. I think our listeners are just lapping this up. I know we are. But I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about, because things are going to be changing for you. And I'm not asking for you to talk about where you're going in your career just yet, but I know it's going to be exciting and there is something big happening. But as you move into, this next stage of your very accomplished and successful career, how do you see yourself continuing to help elevate these new voices? It could be in your personal life, it can be in your career, but I can tell how passionate you are about this. And I'm just curious, because I think I could learn something from you, and I'd love to hear you talk about that. Like, all right, if Eileen's going to do that, then I think I can do a little bit of that too.
It's a heady question because I don't know that there's one silver bullet, but for me, very personally, like this work, both while I was at Ulta and in this consultant kind of headspace, has been so life-giving for me. It regrounded me into my deep love for words and the power that they hold. I think that it also, it just kind of awakened a part of me that was like, yep, I am still super passionate about this. And I really didn't know how purposeful it could be. I think that I always believed in PR, but I didn't believe it had such exponential abilities. So there's also a phrase, and I will muck it up. So the intent of the phrase is that as you keep climbing, you look back and you pull others with you. And somebody said it to me along the way. I have never, ever forgot that, and I never will. And I think that especially amongst female leaders, it is our imperative duty to do that for one another and to show other women that like we want to be up here together. Like there is not a fight for who got there first. So to me, I will continue to be a conduit for articulating mission, vision, values with leaders. If they reach out, I am happy to help. If I can't, I know people who can and put them in touch with them. I just think that like the more you listen to others' stories, the better you are as a well-rounded adult and parent and just human who operates amongst others. And so I think it's really important to keep listening. And if I can't individually help, then I will help find the people who can. I just think that I've been so inspired and I want to pay that forward in any way I can. And more than that, I think that if one person can break through a little bit or break out or break a paradigm, then we're all better for it. And if one person can help and that just like sets off a series of positive events, wouldn't that be a whole lot better than waking up to gripe about, you know, the cost of a paid spend on XYZ, do. Like there's a lot of tactical things that we can get lost in every day. But if we just hold each other up and we get creative and we want to win together, to me, I listen on LinkedIn. I celebrate people. I don't know if you're familiar with Erin Gallagher, but she is somebody who I just think is doing it right, talking about hype women all the time. And I'm not trying to say it's all about women, because there's a lot of men founders. I mean, Ron Robinson is this beauty founder who is so incredibly kind and smart and wicked generous with his wisdom. And I think that there are more than that exist, and we are just giving space to the people who are the loudest in the room versus the people who have something different to say. So I'm just going to keep celebrating and championing those people who have something new to say and helping where I can. And I know that that's not a real answer, but it's as far as I can go, because I don't know, because no two are the same, which is the most.
I think the spirit of your answer is beautiful.
That was a real answer. We'll say it. Yeah, that was real. That was real.
It's definitely real. I'm curious. Are you a mentor as well? Like a Marquette mentor? Is that something that you do?
I am loosely a Marquette mentor. Rob, your past guest, Rob, is roping me in on it.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm being roped in too. So we'll both be mentoring.
We'll both do it together.
Yeah,
great.
Which is
Perfect.
Great.
I've gone to a couple of their events, and then I'm a mentor to a couple people here in Chicago.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm sorry, Rob. Please, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no. Now you got the mentor connection now too with our other buddy Rob Hart.
Yes. I think this show and all of its guests is frankly just going to take over the world.
But I want you to know, if you didn't go to DePaul or Marquette, you still have a chance to get on the show. I don't want people to feel like they're going to be left out.
Yep.
You were really leaning on a few minutes back, Eileen, values, differentiation, authenticity, things that are cores to what you believe and who you are. But in that spirit, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh, that's great, that Muse 100, that's awesome. They had the promotional and business muscle of Ulta Beauty alongside them or behind them. For people that don't have that do have to scream a little louder at the top of the mountain to have their voice heard. What advice do you give them about leaning in on those things when you don't have that, you don't have that partnership that's going to allow you to ascend much more quickly than you might otherwise have?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think that there are lots of nuances by category and industry, and I think I come back to the energy and the enthusiasm that an entrepreneur brings. And so if you're just somebody who can throw money at something and build it, then like you might not have the same passion for the person who created Touchland, a great beauty brand that is like a spray hand sanitizer. It's beautifully packaged, lovely scents. And I think for them, or like Tito's in vodka. Whoever could have saw another vodka coming and disrupting the landscape, right? But they have, and they've done so really well. And I think the reason why those brands, and even Taylor Swift, 3 T's, I like 3 things in 3s. Taylor Swift wasn't always Taylor Swift, but who she was when she broke onto the scene and who she is today, her core values haven't shifted. Tito's, family owned, distilled in Austin, still that. I don't know where Touchland was born, but I know that they are not compromising in their packaging. They continue to grow in different ways. And so I think that those, you find your audience and you stick to your story. Don't don't take bits and pieces of all the other stories that you like. What is your story? And say it with authenticity and courage and joy in your heart, and that resonates. But when you do it to the right audience and that audience, you can create groundswell. And so I think there's a stick-to-itness that is critical for entrepreneurs, but there's also the narrowing and the focus of your story that is critical, because without that, you're never going to move the needle. Nobody is ever going to say, here's this new retailer and they're going to take over the world like on day one. No, nobody comes out and says that. It's not how marketing works. But I think if you can work your network, LinkedIn is the best tool in the world for people who don't have the muscle or the strength of something like an Ulta Beauty, like a Walmart, et cetera. they don't know how small the world is, right? Like I bet I could get to Kevin Bacon if that theory still exists. I think that we all could. And I think that if you have faith in like just pushing down, Deepika at Live Tinted, great brand, great case study to look at. She saw a need. She stuck to her narrative. She continues to, she was just on Time Magazine. Like she's killing it. But it's because she's never swayed. She's never gone away from her differentiated story, not trying to comply and be something it's not, especially the underrepresented voices. Now is your time. The world is giving you a stage, and it's not giving it equally to everybody yet, but there are a lot more people ready, willing, and able to champion them. And I think that like, if you don't strike now, then you're going to spin wheels, and no one wants to do that.
Nice. Well, thank you for this fire up session. I could just like jump out of my chair and start,
what are we going to do next?
Yeah, right. Where are we going now? Are we going to the
and
gym?
if elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking going to the punching bag, but
Right.
just to kind of get, woo. All right. So much energy.
Where are we going?
Yes. Well, I think we might be at the end of our conversation, but I did want to just say, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to impart today? We always like to give that chance.
I mean, just my immense gratitude to both of you for having me. I love this show. I think you guys are super fun and really relatable and approachable. And thanks for putting really good content into the world and for hopefully inspiring some other folks to keep pushing against their dreams.
Thank you.
You had so many just things that I was writing down like, oh, there's another one. There's another one. Just some great nuggets. So well done, Eileen.
Well
Thanks,
done.
man.
And you also just have such a gift for how you put words together in your phrasing. It's fantastic.
Very generous, both of you, with these words. Thank
Well,
you
we always
very
like our guests to leave feeling really good about themselves. It's one of
much. Mission accomplished.
And we are excited to see what the next chapter is. You got a lot more chapters to write, and we just can't wait to see it. So thanks for being on, Eileen Ziesemer. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary.
We thank you. More to come. I think you're going to be a repeat guest in the future. I have a feeling.
Hopefully, stay tuned.
That would be awesome. That's going to do it for another edition of Can You Hear Me? I'm Rob Johnson. We love to hear from you, our listeners. So if you have any thoughts on today's topic or any other topic you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please contact us on social media. We now have a Can You Hear Me podcast page on LinkedIn.
Yes. Join us on LinkedIn. We want to hear from you. We want to see you for sure. And I thank you as well. I'm Eileen Rochford. If you love today's show, we have one request. Would you please help us grow our audience by sharing this episode on LinkedIn, which is the fabulous place where most of our content gets shared. And if you are so inclined, also drop a review of our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those are the two biggest distributors of podcasts. So you would help other people find our content and we would be forever in your debt. So thank you. We appreciate you guys. Take care.